Top 5 most ridiculously expensive homes in Australia. Just like the US, Australia has its own version of ridiculously overpriced houses, made for millionaires who are just looking for a way to burn some cash. Of course, these houses are mind-blowingly extravagant, cost more than a small island, and could probably house a small army. So sit back and relax as we dive into a tour of the most expensive homes in Australia that most of us can only dream of owning. Number 5. Phoenix Acres, Vaucluse, $67 million. Starting off with number 5, the cheapest on our list, but still ridiculously expensive, Phoenix Acres is a towering mansion in the posh neighborhood of Vaucluse. This waterfront property at 38B The Crescent is so grand it's fit for a royal, or at least a really wealthy Australian family whose name has been kept under wraps. The house comes with all the assets you'd expect for such a massive price tag. 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a triple garage, a tennis court, and not one, but 2 resort-style pools. On top of that, there's a grand dining room with harbor view terraces, the perfect chance to wine and dine like royalty while enjoying the stunning view of the harbor. With a $67 million property, that's not all. The mansion boasts a lavish master suite, a conservatory for those who have an obsession with greenhouses, a library for those who want to appear smart, and even an English-style pub. And let's not forget the gym, because what's the point of being rich if you're not in great shape, right? All in all, Phoenix Acres is the epitome of luxury living. Sure, it may not have fetched as much as the other properties on this list, but it's still the 5th most expensive property ever sold in Australia. And let's be real, who needs the hassle of a $100 million mansion when you settle for a luxurious castle at almost half the price? But that does not mean that the other houses on our list are any less worth the millions they cost. For example, number 4, La Mer, Vaucluse, $70 million. Next up, slightly more expensive than Phoenix Acres, is La Mer, a $70 million house that might sound ridiculous until you hear about the incredible features it hosts. The 6-story monolith sits on a 3,345 square meter block offering views of Sydney Harbour and boasts a glassed-in garden area, home gym, workout room, cinema, and a garage for 20 cars. It's like a hotel and a car dealership rolled into one. The La Mer mansion belonged to James and Erica Packer, and both of them initially hoped to make this their matrimonial home, where they could build their family. Unfortunately, they were unable to follow through because their love story soon came to an end. Both of them split up, and the incredible mansion was left empty for 2 years. No regrets there for Erica Packer because she didn't like it anyway, and compared it to living in a shopping center. But despite the bad reviews from Erica, the house still managed to sell for $70 million and was a part of Erica's divorce settlement. So at least she got something out of it. With 6 bedrooms, vast entertaining spaces, and 2 self-contained staff quarters, the new owner will have plenty of room for their entourage. The sale was negotiated by Christie's International and listed off-market with Sotheby's International. With $30 million in acquisition costs and an estimated $40 million in building costs, the $70 million sale price will only just cover James Packer's expenses, and little profit will be made. That said, let's move on to the next best thing. Number 3, Elaine, Point Piper. A billionaire's life would be incomplete without a multi-million-dollar house, which is why Scott Farquhar just had to buy this mansion for $71 million and rank number 3 on our list. Farquhar has been in the property market since 2006, when he bought his first home, a 2-bedder in Pyrmont, for $1.41 million. However, as his net worth grew, so did his hunger for a bigger, better home. Eventually, Farquhar and his wife Kim Jackson decided to upgrade by paying more than $70 million for the infamous Point Piper estate, Elaine. Built in 1863, this marine villa has everything you could ever want in a home, from ornate LED-light windows to twin arches and even a bay window. Plus, the detailed plaster ceilings give it a luxurious touch. On top of that, the villa comes with a rooftop tennis court, basement gymnasium, and a 20-meter lap pool. And you need not worry about where your guests will stay because the original stables are being converted into 2 guest suites. How fancy! Of course, let's not forget the real stars of the show, the century-old trees that tower above the original residence. In addition to nature's magic show, the landscaping by landscape designer Miles Baldwin will have you feeling like you're in your very own secret garden. After buying the estate, Scott commented, "For Kim and I, this will be a beautiful new family home. But more than that, it is a chance for Sydney and Australia to show the world that we believe in great design, that we care for the environment, and that we balance that with preserving the very best of our heritage." Unfortunately, a group of developers ultimately lost out when the house was sold because Mr. Fairfax, who was thrilled that it was being purchased in one queue, approved Mr. Farquhar's $71 million offer even though it was $2.5 million less. Farquhar added, "We're thrilled with the purchase and honored to take over the Elaine estate in its entirety from the Fairfax family. It would have been a great loss to see this rare property sold to developers and carved up. When we heard of the plans, we just couldn't let this beautiful piece of Australian history be turned into a development site. There is a certain nostalgia in knowing that multiple generations of an iconic Australian family have grown up on these lawns, and we very much look forward to raising our family here. Wishing the best of luck to the Fairfaxes, the Farquhars, and their future generations. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2, Edgewater, Wolseley Road. While most people were devastated by the economic crisis during the pandemic, millionaires remained unaffected and were making million-dollar purchases here and there. One of these is the $95 million purchase of the mansion Edgewater on Wolseley Road in Sydney's blue ribbon locale of Point Piper. This immediately became the second most expensive house sale on record. The house has a rare 40-meter harbor frontage, directly in front of the Harbor Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. The house is well known for its tennis court. The waterfront is also quite popular, along with a deep water jetty that runs across 1,800 square meters. According to realestate.com.au, co-founders of the women's clothing company Katie's Joe Brender and the late Sam Moss own the property. When it was merely a concrete shell, the pair paid $5 million for the property in 1985 and later converted it into 2 homes. However, the new owner plans on converting it into one residence before shifting over there. And now it's time to get to the one you all have definitely been waiting for, the most expensive home in Australia. Number 1. Fairwater, Point Piper. Number 1 on our list is the infamous Fairwater at Point Piper. In 2018, Mike Cannon Brooks and his wife, Annie, snatched up Australia's most expensive home, Fairwater, giving the Fairfax family enough money to pay for their next yacht. The estate, which includes a massive 1.12-hectare property on Sydney Harbour, instantly became Mike and his wife's new home, considering how luxurious it is. Fairwater is a stunning property described as medieval and Queen Anne inspired in heritage records and was built in 1881 for a stockbroker who probably had too much money on his hands. It was designed by an architect called John Horbury Hunt. Later on, it became a Fairfax family heirloom, as the family settled over here in 1901 when Sir John Fairfax bought it for a measly $6,831. Talk about a bargain. Since then, they've been living it up in this massive property. However, all stories come to an end, and unfortunately, after Sir James Fairfax died in 1928, the property was passed down to Lady Mabel Fairfax, who then left it to her son, Sir Warwick Fairfax. And now it's in the hands of a tech billionaire who probably has enough money to buy his own island, or maybe even a planet. Ah, the modern circle of life. That said, that's all we have on the top 5 most ridiculously expensive homes in Australia. Jaw-droppingly beautiful and terribly expensive, these houses might just inspire you to turn your life around and attempt to become a millionaire.